Brixham is full of pirates this weekend, and as economically and culturally important as it is, one morning's enough for me, so I've unsubscribed. There are altogether far fewer pirates down here at Dolphin boatyard in Campton. But what there is a burgeoning fleet of small gaffers. At least 3 more shrimpers have turned up. There's a couple of Drascombe luggers. I think that's a Norfolk gypsy. And off in the distance there you can see minks. Minks is a Morecambe Bay prawner. All very exciting. I've come down to fit my new tiller clutch. When I first got Vicar, she had a tiller clutch fitted. It was one of the rotary knob friction ones. And it worked kind of okay, but I've never actually got on with it. So I just loop a piece of Dyneema around the tiller and use the existing fittings to keep her steady, which works most of the time. It's a little bit fiddly to get right sometimes, and you're constantly adjusting the tension. What I want is to be able to lock the tiller in any position along its arc. So I spent some hard-earned cash on this little thing. Comes highly recommended, and it seems extremely well built. Comes with a piece of line and a couple of screws for you to screw into your tiller. Went on really easily, to be honest. And I've fitted the line to the existing fittings I've got on the boat. Now this works fine. The tiller can be locked just using the lever in any position. But of course the tiller itself describes an arc across the boat. It's not a straight line. So as you get close to the end, the geometry of the line means you can't pull the tiller right over to each side unless you slacken it off, which again is a bit annoying. I like the action though, works really well. So I'm 90% pleased with this, but I think it needs a little bit of a rethink, particularly with the line geometry. So, what's the best way to have a think? Well, let's go for a sail. Whilst moored up at Stoke Gabriel, I moved the ends of the line from the fittings on the deck to the centre of the horn cleats on the sides. This makes the line a lot flatter, and it means it's not constrained by its geometry at the end. It's also got just about the right amount of play, although I would like that play cushioned. So I put a bit of a tensioner on one side. This keeps the line tight, but allows the play when you get to the end of the travel. The tiller feels nice and smooth and the line isn't saggy. The tensioner is just a piece of bungee with a bobble at one end and a little clip at the other. It means I can tighten it up or loosen it off as I need to. I also want to be able to move the tiller in an emergency. In the event of gear failure, me falling on the tiller or just blind panic, I want it to move without breaking the tiller, the line or the fittings on the boat. And this arrangement allows me to brute force it when locked without any damage at all. There's not much traffic on the river this afternoon. The high tide means we can just go straight down. That's our yellow line there. These larger yachts that are passing us, though, have to stick to the channel. They snake past us as they keep to the deeper water. The Dart Valley is a ria, that is a flooded river valley, like many of the estuaries in this part of the world, but where it differs from some of the others, Salcombe in particular next door, is the Dart itself, which is still an appreciably sized river, which means that whatever the state of tide, there is still water flowing through it, on its way down to the sea. And in the middle reaches of the estuary, you see this as the main navigable channel. As the incoming tide is forced through the narrowest and deepest part of the river between the Anchor Stone and Greenway Quay, it starts to flood the shallow area of flat hours to the side of the main channel. And as the tide rises, part of it loops back on itself, following the main channel down and the stream of the river. And if you're coming up the river on the flood and turn right past Greenway Quay up the main channel, quite often you can find a knot or so of tide in the wrong direction. It's now time to get the sails down and go home. First the jib, continuous furler, it's always my wife's job. Now turn the engine on. Now put on a bit of topping lift, but loosen that main sheet or you won't be able to. Now steer into the wind, get all those halyard tails loose so that they run properly. One of the things I really love about the Shrimper 19 is that you can hoist and drop the sails from within the cockpit and even while sitting down. It's safe as houses. Time to head home and park the boat.
Hello, buddy.
The engine was now in neutral and we were just coasting along under momentum alone. Penny off the Morecambe Bay Prawn and Minx had come along to catch our lines, but inspired by pirates, obviously, my plan was to coast perfectly to a halt and step off Captain Jack Sparrow style.
I haven't got any lines on this, so I'm going to step aboard and hand on to the shroud. We're still dinghy sailors at heart.
I then plan to spin her around by hand so that she's pointing in the right direction for the next little adventure. Penny had walked back to Minx after I hadn't handed her a line, and I hoped I hadn't offended her. But she soon returned with a couple of beers, so we're all good. Perfect end to another day in paradise in Devon. See you next time, everybody.